Hey everybody, it is me. It's your old buddy Steve Simonson, and we're going to do a little bit of a round table today. I got Michael Pinkowski with me. Say hi, Michael.
Hey, Steve, how are you?
I'm good, although the instructions said say hi, Michael. So strike one for Michael. He said hi, Steve.
Hi,
Say
Michael.
hi, Melissa.
Hello. Oh, I didn't.
Oh, look at that. Boy, she even had a template to work with here. That's an SOP gone wrong, everybody. No, my good friend Michael Pinkowski, we've played around together for, it's got to be close to 20 years. Is that right, Michael?
Yes. Yeah, we're knocking on the door of 20 years, like another couple months.
Yeah, like that door has a screen door, and we fell right through. Nate, hello, welcome. We are going to just give everybody here a minute or two to kind of jump in. Good job on everybody being timely, by the way. I'm very proud of you. And I won't have to fine you for being late, because that's what people and I used to do, is if you were late to a meeting, wasn't there a fine or something, Michael?
Yeah, we wanted to do $1 a minute.
Yeah. So because timeliness is a show of respect. So thank all of you. We see a bunch of you already joining. Melissa, let's get you a proper hello. The Melissa from the Empower E-Commerce Cooperative, who's running the boards today. How are you, Melissa?
Doing so well. I'm really excited to be here too. I have worked with Steve, everyone knows, my brother, and Michael Pinkowski since I was like 15, like not the entire duration, but Mike Pinkowski was my boss way back when Steve had one. I think it was your first e-commerce business, right?
Yeah, I reckon at that stage it probably was.
Yeah. iFloor and Corner Hardware, yeah.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Yeah, so it's amazing how these things stick together. Yes, Nate, I am coming to you from a secret location out in space, and we're going to fake a new moon landing, but we're going to the moon to get good footage so that we can fake it really well this time. It's great to see everybody online. Listen, here's what we're talking about today, and we're not going to do, kind of the traditional webinar where we just beat you down with, leader kind of information. We're going to tell you what we really think and tell you why it's important, and then tell you, to the extent you're interested, actions you can take. A big hello to Paul Miller out there, by the way. So this is something that I believe in wholeheartedly, and we call this strengths-based leadership, and Michael's going to give you some more details about it. But the thing I like about it, perhaps most of all, is that it's a science-based approach to people management. And me being super low in empathy, I need numbers. It really helps me. I feel better about numbers. And it helps me to know that if we do things in a certain way and we understand our own strengths, then we have a better chance of not just making a productive company, but being fulfilled and happy and creating an environment where people actually want to be. And that's fundamentally, why I really invest a lot in this. And by the way, I've been doing this since probably the 2004 to 2005 timeframe. This philosophy, that's when I became aware of it. And then once you become aware of it, then it's like, well, now what do I do? So Michael, why don't you tell us a little bit about your background real quick, and let's go from there.
Sure. Well, I've got a slide on it that we'll get to in a bit, but I like my background is in really in home products and really in e-commerce. I built my first website in 1996, 97. My first e-commerce website I built in 98, and then I joined you in 2000. So I've been in e-commerce a long time, and I know that most of our audience is too. And it's been a great ride, and as we all know, it's nowhere near done. There's so much more to do. But it has gotten more complicated. And so managing companies and managing people has gotten trickier. And especially as the new generations come in, they have different needs and wants. And there's a separate book report that I'm going to do for your podcast that talks about It's the Manager. And we kind of get into how do you manage the new generation a little bit. But strengths is like something I picked up a while back. In fact, I liked it so much I became a coach. And it's really an important way for me to go forward and manage businesses and work with people.
So just for clarity's sake, everybody, Michael's very modest. He helped me build my first company from $0 to $50 million. And then he went and had another adventure and took a friend of mine and a friend of Michael's from that 50 to 100 plus million, 110, 120 million. I don't remember what you guys were doing. So he's been around the block. And to do that, people ask me all the time, I'm in conferences or events. I was just at the $1 Billion Seller Summit down in Texas. My buddy Kevin King puts that on. And I had wonderful, high-level, amazing, brilliant entrepreneurs, but they're like, how do I build a team? Or I don't want to build a team because teams can be annoying. And we all have had hires where they haven't gone as planned. And by the way, the act of hiring somebody is the beginning, not the end. And often that's where we make our first mistake. We think that hiring somebody and abdicating is the solution, and it really isn't. So we're going to get into the details of, when you hire somebody and when you know your own strengths, what do you do about that? And how do you make a system? How do you make a concept around strengths instead of kind of beating people down? And I'll say this before I let Michael kind of jump right into the thick of it. I really think one of the biggest mistakes entrepreneurs make is we treat people, especially freelancers, like tissue paper. We just kind of blow our nose and move on to the next one. And that's the worst. I hope I gave you a disgusting enough image there, because that's really I think it's a travesty. If you expect to use somebody on an ongoing basis, don't treat them like they're expendable. Figure out how that you can plug them into your system. Figure out how you can drive engagement. This doesn't mean that your full-time job is to figure out how to get this data entry person who works 4 hours a week for you into the happy land. But it does say, think about this long-term. Think about building a team. If you're just using somebody to design a logo once a year, you don't have to plug them into the team. But don't treat people like they're disposable tissue. They are not. And fundamentally, they will give you the rocket fuel to get out to space where I am. So, Michael, why don't you go ahead and take us into the meat and potatoes straight away?
Yeah, and before I start, both everybody, Steve and Melissa are both watching this chat window, and I'm going to be busy in my presentation, so I won't see it. But they'll gather up questions, and they know how to jump in and interrupt me. So don't hesitate if you've got questions. I want this to work for you. All right, let's.
Michael's going to share his screen, but just for clarity, I'm actually watching Oprah in the background. So you guys carry on. I'll let you know when I'm interested.
For those of you that I've been with Steve a long time, and I can't tell you how many times we were in meetings and he would say that he was watching Oprah. Let me see if I can get rid of, I want to get rid of this menu and I can't. Are you guys seeing the three camera view?
No, we just see the slide. This is me.
Oh, all right. Excellent. Excellent. Okay. All right. So you asked me, to introduce myself, and you said I was very modest. And I guess I got to tell you that I've lost a little bit of my modesty. I do have an MBA in finance and marketing from The Ohio State University. You and I did go from 0 to 50 million. And I was also the director of another company that went from 50 to 100 million. And they exited, which was very rewarding for the owner-founder in that one. And as I've said, I've been in other e-commerce companies and had other roles. But I'm really excited to come to you today as a certified Clifton Strengths coach. I have taken the classes, paid the money, passed the tests, done assessments, and I'm really excited to be a certified coach. Steve talks about the why, and I wanted to start with that. I wanted to kind of give you what it is about this whole thing that just makes so much sense to me. Don Clifton founded this whole thing, and there's a story I could tell, but I don't want to keep us here all day. But he had these insights as he was researching productivity and success in the workplace. And he summed it up in this really great phrase. He says, "What will happen when we think about what is right with people rather than fixating on what is wrong with them?" And this is just a really huge insight. We live in these times now where we're all communicating all the time, and somehow we seem to communicate our fears. We seem to communicate our anxieties too much. We seem to focus on the negative. And Don Clifton, many, many, many years ago, just said the world would be better, we as people would be better if we focused on what was right with people and didn't fixate on what was wrong with them. Now, as we go through this presentation, I've got a stack of coins here. And this slide is like, I've got 5 really major takeaways. that I want to share with you. This is the first one. It's lead with positive intent. This idea of focusing on the positive and just going into a situation and saying, okay, we can do this. How are we going to do it? Steve does this brilliantly all the time. If you go to him with a problem, the first thing he'll do is take all the emotion out of it, and then he'll tell you that it's really, unlikely to be a problem the size of total decimation. It's probably just a problem that we just have to fix. And he turns it into a puzzle and makes it something positive, and you go after it. So go into your situations with positive intent. That's one of my first things that I would love to have people take away from this. And it's also the key to strengths-based development. This idea that I want to go to you, this Clifton Strengths and focusing on strengths, it's in a category called strengths-based development. And it can be a part of your leadership, and a part of your business, and a part of your life. Let me show you how it works out in a business you may have heard of. Lori Goler is the VP of HR at Facebook, and she is operating one of the largest strengths-based companies in the world. And what she says is, it makes sense to focus on strengths. People in jobs that play up their talents and let them do work that they enjoy are more engaged and perform better than people that are in roles that don't play to their strengths. And it makes sense when you think about it, right? If it's the kind of stuff that you're good at, that you like doing, you're going to do better. And that's the key here. And one way to get at it in an interview situation, and you should put this question, every time you do interviews, you kind of say, how am I going to do an interview for somebody? Make a list of great questions. Put this one in there. What were you doing on your very best day at work? That's going to help you find out with that candidate, what were they about? What do they like doing? What are they talented at? It's a really, really key insight. And let me show you how it works. Apple, Google, and Microsoft. And of course, we're talking about Facebook. So these are all big companies. They're all located in the same areas. They're all congregated in Silicon Valley. They're all congregated up here in Seattle. And employees go back and forth between the companies, right? So there are people that work for Facebook, get hired there, start their careers, and they go to work for the other ones. But did you know that there are, for every one that goes from Facebook to Apple, 11 go from Apple to Facebook? 11. That to me is staggering. I've been an Apple guy since 1987, I think. I bought my first Mac. I've been an Apple fanboy the whole time. Steve's had to put up with it for quite a while and finally rolled over and converted. But I can't believe that. So for me, I'd always wanted to work at Apple. I interviewed with Apple. Can you imagine people leaving Apple? They go to work at Facebook. And there's a reason. At Google, it's 15-1. And at Microsoft, it's 30-1. And one of the key things here is that Facebook retains these people. Facebook has built it so that you want to stay there. You're getting a chance to do the things that you're best at every day. That's what they're asking of you. So it's not so much that they don't like Apple, it's that they don't leave Facebook. They stay where they're happy. They stay where they can do the work that they want to do.
Michael, let me just jump in here because I think this is such an important point, and thank you for sharing the data. Everybody, all of those companies are tech companies. Every single one of those companies has big stock opportunity, has, the lifestyle and the private chefs and all the rest of it, right? Microsoft is $1 trillion company, their largest company in the world. Google, obviously, the Alphabet company, has endless opportunity. And Michael has already talked up Apple, which has a phenomenal culture and campus and opportunity, et cetera. But why is it that Facebook is winning? The answer is simply because they focus on strengths. They put in strengths-based stuff some years ago, and they then retain more people than their competition. And don't forget that we're in competition for the best talent, the best people. And right now, Facebook is winning that talent battle. Even when their stock's down at times, even when the opportunity in the Cambridge Analytica, all that stuff may be disconcerting for people, it's something that they still win because the focus on the employees and the retention is there, and it's strengths-based. Keep going, Michael.
All right. So what this seminar is about then is the idea that people have talents. And Gallup, Clifton Strengths, is owned by Gallup, the election polling people that you hear about. Gallup's biggest business is actually Clifton Strengths. It's not the polling. It's actually the Clifton stuff. So they can identify what those talents are. And success comes from growing these talents into strengths, not trying to fix your weaknesses. And I've got a couple of examples, and I'll talk you through that a little bit. So the second value point, this is, again, I want you to think about these ideas. If you're only going to take 5 notes, write these 5 down. Talents can be identified and named. And it gives you a vocabulary. It gives you words. You know, if the first step to a cure is admitting you have a problem, you know, it's putting words to stuff. And when you can identify talents and start to talk to people in your organization about talents and use those words, share those words, it makes for a much deeper, richer, more effective communication. And with Gallup, they go through this process, they identify the talents, and you then get the words. You then know what your strengths are, you know what other people's strengths are. So let's talk about talents a little bit more. I've got about 5 questions here that I just want you to think about, and think about them either for yourself or for people you know, your partners or your business associates, whatever. So do you talk to people in elevators and airplanes, wherever you go? I don't very much, but my wife does. It's crazy to go shopping with her. She starts talking to total strangers. She'll turn around in line and just comment on somebody's hat, and next thing you know, they're best friends. That's a talent that she's got. It's not one that I've got. The next one then is, do you have a color-coded or organized closet? Or maybe your garage or desk. Just ask yourself if because you've seen people, right, that are super organized, and we've got other people that still get a lot of stuff done, but they don't seem to go about it the same way. Are you somebody that writes down a list of things to do, even for stuff on the weekends, or even crazier on vacations, and then do you stick to it? There are people out there that do that. They make a list of what they want to do on vacation, and they follow the whole list all the way through. Do you need someone to race? Are you one of these people that as you're merging onto the freeway, you kind of pick out, I'm going to be merging ahead of that other guy. I'm gonna pull in ahead of them. Are you pushing your cart through the grocery store and you say, oh, there's an open checker, I'm gonna dodge and just slide in there, even if you have to do a kind of a skid turn to pull it off? Do you figure out the plot of a movie before everybody else? Do you watch a show like that and everybody goes, oh, that big surprise ending, and you go, that was not a surprise, I saw that 10 minutes in, I figured that one out. These are all different talents that certain people have, and nobody has all of them, right? And they have them to different degrees. So my little sliders are going to kind of move around here. But in a way, I'm giving you a preview of what the Clifton assessment is like. They ask you questions in the assessment, and then you say it's very likely or unlikely that you do some of these kinds of things, or you take these kinds of actions or whatever. And so you answer just on a kind of a left and right scale about where you fit. I'd rather be doing this than I'd be doing that. So for me, I'm more likely to want to, talk about books that I've read than I am to talk to strangers. But if I could talk to a stranger about a book, I'm pretty good. So people have these different talents. And what's important is to understand that they are instinctive ways of behaving. They are always a source of engagement and excellence because this is who you are. This is what makes you you. And it's where you are able to excel. And everyone is different, and everyone contributes in different ways because they're drawing on different talents. The Clifton definition is, talents are naturally recurring patterns of thought, feeling, or behavior that can be productively applied. So it's anything that shows up all the time in your life, right? Again, being able to talk to a stranger, being able to come up to a, kind of a messy situation and quickly organize it. Being able to come into a group of people and say, come on, we're going to go this way. Those are all different talents. And Gallup can identify your talents. They have this assessment called the Clifton Strengths Assessment. You take it online, it takes about 40 minutes, and it measures you, and it comes up with 34 general areas of talent. And they're grouped. The first grouping is strategic, and I won't walk you through all of them, but there's about 8 listed here in strategic. So for instance, I have futuristic, which means I'm able to see a better tomorrow, and I can describe it to you. It's just a talent that I have. I can tell you that things are going to be okay tomorrow, and here's why. There's also the executing talents, things like achiever. Achiever is somebody that says, we've got to get this done. And they just are driven to put stuff onto a list and check it off and get it finished. I love hanging out with achievers because I don't have that talent. But when I work with them, I can tell them about maybe my better tomorrow, and they can say, what do we need to do to get there? I want to get those things done. There are influencing talents. Things like communication, the ability to tell stories, or woo is winning others over, being able to kind of convince them and get them to see your side. And lastly, there's relationship building. And that's the ability to connect with others. I have connectedness, and long before I knew that, I decided that one of my key phrases was going to be life is a team sport. Now, not everybody believes that, and it's not always true, but I'm able to rally people around that idea that we're in this together and we should all work together. It's a talent that I've got. So everybody is a mix of different talents. The 34 come out, and if you buy the full 34 assessment from Gallup, you get the whole ranking, and you are a jumble of them, and there are certain ones that are bigger in your life and some that are much smaller. But what's important to understand is that you are unique. The chances of the same top 5 in any order are 1 in 340,000. That's pretty rare. In fact, there's a website for us coaches, and it's really for everybody, but I discovered it through being a coach. And it says, find your top 5 twin. And I signed up for it 6 months ago, and I don't have any matches. Nobody that signed up for the website has matched with my top 5. For somebody to have the same top 5 in the exact order that I've got, the odds are 1 in about 33 million. So there's 330 million Americans, right? So that's a 1 in 10 that have the same top 5 in the same order that I have. So there's 2 key ideas here. You are unique. And the people that work for you, that you work with, are unique. They're different. And if you're going to talk about managing people, you cannot lay down a set of rules and expect them to all respond. I'll give you the best example of this. I was working as a salesperson very early in my career, and the manager decided that salespeople are motivated by competition. And so the whole thing was super high commissions, bonuses, everything was about who could sell the most. And it was kind of one of these steak and beans things. If you won, you got great rewards, and if you lost, you got lousy rewards. Competition is number 32 for me. I am not motivated by that. But if he had put together a thing that said, okay, in January we're doing competition, but in February we're going to do it as a group, boy, my connectedness would jump up, and I would say, hey, we're all in this together. Let's go. Let's rally. How can I help you? That's what motivates me, okay? But I'm not motivated by competition. I don't need to merge ahead of that guy on the freeway. I don't mind letting somebody else go to the checkout stand first. That's just how I am. So you need to understand this about your people. And when they take the assessment and you see their top 5 or you see their top 10, you start to see who they are and what motivates them and what makes them successful. And it really gives you a chance to get to know them and how to work with them. And if you've got somebody that's got competition, you just come up alongside them and you go, geez, it sure would be bad to be number 2 in this thing, wouldn't it? And boom, she's going to jump up and run. she's going to take off and go, right? And you can turn to somebody else and say, you know, it feels like that you have unfinished business. And if she's got achiever, she's going to say, I hate unfinished business. I got to go get this stuff done. It's a totally different motivation, both with great results.
Yeah, Michael, I just want to say for the entrepreneurs out there, if you have any of my weaknesses, which I have many, I often think, well, this is a skills-based thing. You know, well, if competition or this or that, we try to match these up to skills. But in my view, this is about behaviors. This is literally how we're wired as humans. So if Michael's great examples, if you have somebody who is high in competition, you definitely want to go, gosh, it looks to us like the, that competitor's got position number 2, and we should be in position number 2, for ranking, and they'll stop at nothing to win. Whereas if you give that same pressure to somebody who's high in empathy or harmony or connectedness, you might get a totally different result. The point is learning that this is about leaning into their strengths, their inherent talents, really, I see it as internal wiring. That's far more important than trying to suss out the specific skill. This is how they do what they do, not what they do precisely as a skill. So I hope that's additive. And Michael can always correct me when I'm wrong here, by the way.
No, you're absolutely right. And that's one of the key insights, right? We're doing all this because we know how hard it is to manage people. And all I'm trying to do is give you some key ideas that you can draw on. And the next time you've got this challenge, you have the ability to say, well, let me try this tool. Let me try this idea. And I think that's how you become a better manager, because there's all kinds of, I got an MBA in it's business administration, and we spent precious little time understanding people, right? We spent all kinds of time understanding depreciation. We spent all kinds of time understanding international finance, but we didn't spend much time understanding how to really manage people, how to get results, how to move an organization ahead. And these are great tools that you can use to do that.
Yeah, and by the way, I would just want to throw a spoiler. You can find out your entire list of 34 talents for less than $100. So, don't get your anxiety up going, oh, this is going to be some $3,000 throwdown. Yeah. This is nothing to do with that. Michael and I are all about empowering entrepreneurs, and this is going to be like problem solution, and you're going to go, wow, this is amazing. I gotta check this out and learn more. So keep going, Michael.
All right. So let's come back to this idea. Everyone that you talk to, everyone that you work with, from freelancers to your business partners, they all have talent. And when you can see that, when you can see them in living color, when you can see them with those words, with that vocabulary that says, oh, you've got competition, or you've got empathy, or you've got connectedness. When you can see that, it just adds so much color to them. And that perspective will change everything. And then there's the whole other level, because you can then take those talents, and you can take your own talents, and you can invest in them, learn about them, work with them, and they become strengths. And strengths are super powerful. It's like a talent that's been honed, it's been invested in, it's been brought to the fore, and it becomes you go from a hand tool to a power tool. It just becomes so much more important. So let's talk a little bit about these rankings. So you take the assessment, and we talk about the top 5 or the top 10, but all 34 are present at some level. So you have your dominant talents. And again, I've got futuristic, strategic, connectedness, belief, and learner. And those are my top 5. And I think about them all the time. And when I'm in different situations, I think about them. And then sometimes I try to draw on them to try to get something done. Other times I say, well, one of them's out of control. It's like a burner on the barbecue. I got to dial it down because it's getting out of control. But really, there's about 10, not necessarily exactly, but about 10 that are fairly dominant. They really dictate your success. They don't dictate your success. They explain your success. They are the reason that you find the success that you do. They are what explains your productivity. After that, there's another, say, 15 that are supporting strengths. They're around. Everybody's got them. But they're not a huge influence in your life. You don't find yourself using those kinds of words or ideas very often to try to convince somebody else, or to try to motivate yourself, or to try to find an insight to a problem. They're just around. They're helpful, but they don't really define you. They don't constitute the definition of you. And the bottom 9 or 10 or whatever are really your lesser talents. Again, competition is number 32 for me. I love watching sports. I just don't feel bad when the team loses, and there's other people where, Monday is terrible because, on Sunday the guy's lost. I don't feel that at all. I shake it off and move on. I have to. I'm a Seattle Mariners fan. We've gone the longest without a team in the championships. But the reality is it's around. If I need to, I suppose I could, try to compete on something. I'm not against it on moral principles or anything. It just doesn't motivate what I want to do. So success comes from growing talents into strengths. And the research shows that you get much more return by working on those talents. So again, if you've got, let's just see if I can pick one. If you've got activator, which is the ability to come up with projects and say, let's get started on this, let's get going on this, you're better off trying to take that and build on that talent than you are for somebody like Steve that's got low empathy. For him to try to become super empathic is just not going to get the return that it would for him to say, listen, let's get going on a project, right? He should draw on other strengths and not try to focus on those weaknesses. Now, you do have weaknesses. Those are the lower strengths. And all you do is manage your way around them and just be aware that they're there, and again, with like myself with competition, I just say, oh, okay, so I'm not competitive. What can I do to in this situation where, we need to do something, maybe we get signed up for an event with family or something, okay, fine, we'll rally. But mostly I use other talents to get there. Let me give you an example of trying to focus on your strength versus focusing on a weakness. You can, if you're sitting at home or in your office, grab a pencil or a pen, and I'm going to have you write this phrase down 3 times as fast as you can. And the phrase is, I use my strengths every day. So when I say go, I want you to write this down as fast as you can. Wait a minute. Put it in your other hand. If you're right-handed, put the pen in your left hand. Go. Stop. I won't torture you. It's really hard to do this, right? How did you feel? I mean, I suspect that trying to do something from your weaker hand was frustrating. I bet that it didn't look very good. I bet that it's not work that you're proud of. So if I had asked you to do it with your dominant hand, you would have done it fast. You would have done it with, well. It would have been, telling you to focus on it. You probably would have had better handwriting than you normally do. The idea here is, if you're already good at it, invest in making that better. If you're bad at it, just deal with it. I'm right-handed. If I break my right hand, I will have to write with my left hand. I know sort of how. It's just a bad experience, and I need to get my right hand well as soon as I can. So the third value point is that success comes from growing talents into strengths. Don't focus on your weaknesses, and especially don't focus on the weaknesses of your teammates. I like the example. I remember I had an outstanding year one year as a salesperson, and I just tore it up. In fact, there was a maximum commission that they would pay, And I hit that in the middle of December with 2 weeks to spare. I had made every dollar they were possibly going to pay me. And when I went into my review, I was expecting glowing reviews, but the company had a policy that says nobody's perfect. So, Mike, thanks for doing actually as much as you possibly could, more than we ever wanted. But we need you to work on your expense reports. Really? Really? That's what you wanted from me? How about changing it so that I could go out and sell even more stuff? How about helping me find a better way to do expenses? How about getting that time reduced, getting more time in front of customers? How about switching it around so that I could do what I'm really good at? Don't do this to your people. Don't say thanks, but don't do that. Grow their strengths, invest in their strengths, make them more and more successful in their strengths, and then manage their weaknesses.
Mike, the thing I want to jump in here and say is that I have talked to so many people that right after their annual review, they were so mad. They were so ticked off because they killed it, right? Mike's story is a good example. Like, you're doing everything you can. You expect kind of like a victory lap or a parade or something, or at least hey, great job. No reason to tie you down in these details of an annual review. Let's go have another great year. See you later, right? There's kind of that whole range from that, parade all the way down to, attaboy, see you later. And so often as managers, we feel compelled to go, yeah, but here's this thing. And often, as I like to say, for those with the kids at home, get ready to bleep me, but we often are told, if you follow the online versions of an annual review, you just make a shit sandwich and it's awful. You start out and go, hey, we're really, like you, you're great. You've done great things this year, but this, and this suck. And really, if you don't clean it up, we're not sure what your future looks like, right? We think that's going to motivate them. And then at the end, we're like, but hey, well, you're really great. We sure hope you are awesome and stay engaged and blah, blah, blah. And all it does is create absolutely people who are not happy. And Michael's going to talk about those various stages. So carry on, Michael. Thank you.
Yeah. Because what you really want is people that are engaged in your business, right? That's what's going to make the difference. And here's a good way to understand engaged. Engaged people are like homeowners, right? They're out there on the weekends, they're mowing, they're painting, they're making improvements, they're doing regular maintenance. They do the same thing when they come to work in your company, right? They walk by, they see something that's wrong, they say something about it. They look for ways to improve processes. They want to make the company a better place, and they feel like they're a part of it. They're engaged. But Gallup research shows that only 15% of the workforce is actually engaged. There's another group out there, about 70%, that are unengaged. These are people that are renters, right? This isn't their home, this is their job. And they're going to be here or they're going to be someplace else, but it's not theirs. And they're not going to tear it up, but they're not going to make it better either. And they're unengaged. They're just sort of hanging around. The last group is what Gallup calls the actively disengaged. These are people that are like squatters. They came in here to tear out the wiring. They came in here to salvage the plumbing and sell it. They actively tear out the systems and processes and relationships and other strengths that your company has, and they take it apart and they make it worse. And they actively go in the opposite direction. And as a rule, there's as many of those in your business as there are people that are engaged. And that's just really sad. So think of your workforce like this. Here they are on their way, and you've got 15% of them that are engaged. They're excited about what they're going to do today. They're going to make your company and the world a better place. 85% are not engaged. And for them, the job has no real meaning. And when you spend as much time at the job as we all do, that means their life has less meaning. They're just not happy. And they're not getting any fulfillment out of it. You want engaged people because engaged employees will inspire others around them. They'll solve problems. they'll volunteer and step up and try to help make things better. And you do that by understanding them and letting them do what they do best every day. You let them understand their strengths and focus on their strengths and grow their strengths. Organizational growth can only come from engagement, right? The other two groups are going the opposite way. So you've got to have these engaged people. You've got to invest in them. You've got to help them get more meaning out of the work they're doing if you want to grow your company.
Hey, Michael, so one of the questions I get all the time when I start talking about engaging and people get excited, they see the vision of, hey, yeah, I want more homeowners and less squatters. That's pretty clear. They get worried about, well, how do I determine engagement? How do you measure engagement? Did we determine that we're going to share the Q12 bonus with them today?
Yeah, we can.
Okay, yeah, maybe at the end. So there's a way to measure this, everybody. You know, just saying the words engagement sound good, but it's like, how do I quantify it? How do I understand it? And at the very end, we'll show this bonus slide that Michael made that has 12 questions you can ask your people. And by the way, if you didn't think that we punched you in the gut so far in terms of being a crappy manager, and by the way, I'm the worst manager in the bunch here, get ready for a real kick in the face when we show you these questions. You don't want to miss them. We'll show it at the end. Carry on, Michael. Sorry to interrupt.
No problem, because you lead right into it, right? So Gallup does all this research on the marketplace, and they've been doing this for over 50 years, right? I should have said that at the beginning. And all of these things that they're doing, it's all research-based, okay? So as a part of their research recently, they wanted to know how do you figure out if they're engaged, and how do you change them from not engaged to engaged? Do you just need to hire better, or do you just need to pick older people, or what do you do? And in their assessment and their research, they came back and they found out that 70% of the variance, 70% of the difference between determining if somebody's going to be engaged or not engaged comes from their manager, their direct manager. So they wrote a book called "It's the Manager," and it's that this manager is the one that controls whether or not they're going to feel good about what's going on. And if they can come at and have strengths-based conversations and use strengths-based tools and beliefs, you can have that highly engaged workforce. And then they go on to say there's a way to figure all this out. And it's this Q12 that Steve talked about. There are 12 questions that you can survey your team on. I recommend once a quarter, just because we're in fast-moving companies, and you can actually make a difference quarter to quarter. And you survey the people on the 12 questions. I'll bring them up when we're done here. And you can see that you can, by measuring your people, and they, it's just a survey, right? And they're measuring you for the most part. You can find out how you're doing on engagement. So I want to kind of wrap up this part of the whole webinar. There are some fast, easy, actionable steps that you can take personally and you can take for your company and your people to make a difference. First one is learn your strengths. You can buy the book on Amazon called Discover Your Clifton Strengths. It's like $20. And you get the book and you get the code to take the online assessment. Make sure you buy a new copy of it, because used copies usually mean somebody used that code and it's no longer any good. So make sure you're buying a new copy. But for about $20, you can learn your top 5 and get definitions of the other strengths. You can go to Clifton Strengths website at cliftonstrengths.com, and you can get the full 34 assessment for $50. And I've also got it on my website for $50.
Yeah, and let me just say, because Michael's too nice, just go to gobestrong.com/go and just do it there, because Michael's the one who's doing this webinar, and it's the same price. And give me a friggin' break. He's dropping value left and right. So go gobestrong.com/go. It might be lowercase, by the way. I don't know if it's upper or lowercase, but make sure that you go there and support Michael's efforts. By the way, he doesn't make any money on it, but it just helps him see that his content and the things he's generating have value in the world, and that's what makes him feel fulfilled.
Yeah.
So that's step one. We're going to do that. gobestrong.com/go. What next, Michael?
Yeah, you're seeing my lack of competition and my high connectedness here. Then once you get the assessment, then you'll get these reports from Gallup, and they're good reports. They've done a lot of work to figure out, what your strengths are, and they give you definitions of them, and they give you explanations, and they give you some exercises, and it's really good stuff to help you kind of read through the reports. And so do that. And then the third step is sort of bring it to life. Have a conversation with people about what your strengths are. Use the vocabulary that we talked about. Use those words and share them with others. And especially if you can get, again, your business partners or whatever to take the same. Again, the assessment's not expensive, right? Get them to use those same words back. It'll help. Steve and I talk regularly, and he'll tell me, "Hey, come on, you got positivity, dial it up." And I'll tell him, "Hey, it feels like your responsibility's dragging on you." And he'll go, "Oh man, it's feeling heavy today. It's feeling heavy." But we know these words, we share these words, and it allows us to talk and communicate better. So for very, very little money, you can take these steps and get to know yourself better and your team better, and make a difference.
Michael, just go back to that one if you don't mind, or that slide. So everybody, understanding your strengths to begin with is very, very important. And like Michael said at the beginning, this is not like you read the questions. You're like, am I driving the car or am I a passenger? Am I, at the grocery store, do I like the produce section or the meat section? They're just these questions are extraordinarily innocuous. You have no idea how to beat this thing. So you just use your guts. It's totally easy. It takes 30 or 40 minutes and you're done. Then you read these reports about you. And when you read them, it's like, holy crap, how in the world does this computer know this about me? Because it doesn't say, you like to sit in the passenger seat, like the question might have asked you. It says, you really, have a great day when you can see the team win or whatever. It makes these associations that are data-driven, that are so, in my mind, insightful and powerful that often you can have a visceral reaction to it. And at least in my experience, 4 out of the 5 strengths are like dead obvious to you. You'll go on, yeah, that thing knows me. Sometimes you'll see one, it's like, I don't get it, but other people will see it in you. And that's why talking about it, step 3, is useful. And, for the folks in the Empower E-commerce Cooperative, we like to talk about this. We definitely want to talk about this on calls and with the community, because we know that the strengths are how we get stronger. Frankly, the more you exercise your strengths, you get stronger. And if you're forced to deal with your weaknesses, you get weaker. That's ultimately how this works. So sharing and inviting others to share their strengths with you, especially if you have a partner. And I know a lot of husband and wife teams, boyfriend and girlfriend teams, or just old partners. This can be a vocabulary to take it out of the emotional and into the data and into the behavioral. Hey, listen, I said this, you reacted this way. Maybe that's your, achiever or arranger or empathy, a little too much on the dark side, as I like to call it. Michael can explain another time about barrier labels, but each strength has like, if you don't develop it right, you can get into the dark side. So being able to have a communication and a way to share this vocabulary is very, very powerful. And by the way, I've been at Amazon, in one of the Amazons, the Amelia building down in Seattle, and we had our badges from a Catalyst 88 Mastermind, and the backside of our badges have our strengths. And the Amazon people are like, oh, hey, I've got, Relator, or I've got a learner too. They were talking about their own strengths because they're now deploying strengths-based leadership. This is not unique to you. You don't have to live in a bubble. There's a whole world of strengths-based philosophy. So carry on, Michael. Sorry.
Sure. And you make a really good point. The report that you get it's all good news, right? There's 34 strengths that are all, whatever you get is going to be good. It's going to tell you who you are and what you're great at. It's a fun report to read. And the other part is, don't try to scam it. There's a story about the vice president of strategic communications who got their report back and they didn't have strategic and they didn't have communication. But that's not, being strategic and being communicative is not what made them successful as a manager, right? They could have been successful as a manager because they had belief or achiever or ideation or lots of other things that made them successful in that role. So don't feel like you've got to answer a certain way. In fact, I coach people to say, think, really from the gut, what are you going to get? Because you're going to get a good answer. You're not going to get, oh, I answered it wrong. You're not going to lose your job because you came up with the wrong profile. It's just going to help you understand who you are and what you're great at. All right, so value point 5 is it's not hard, it's not time consuming, and it's not expensive. So let me kind of recap what we showed to you. Everyone has talents. Gallup can identify and rank those talents. Talent plus the investment of time and energy and learning can equal success because you've taken talents and turned them into strengths. Strengths and strengths-based conversations can lead to engagement, and engagement leads to productivity and retention, as we showed you with the Facebook example. And for less than $50, you can have all of that. And if you want to, you can give the $50 to Amazon or Gallup or whoever you want. You don't have to give it to me. All I want is for you to be better people and have better companies, because that's going to make you more successful and happier in your life.
All right. I'm going to turn off the connectedness for a minute, Michael, because I don't have connectedness. I have other things that I'm imploring you guys out there. First of all, take action. Don't waste the time and wonder, well, I wonder what impact this can have. I know it's Q4, everybody's busy, but right now, in the midst of Q4 is when you need to start thinking about 2020. You need to fly up above all of the daily chaos and think about, what am I going to do for 2020? So go to GoBeStrong/go. And by the way, you can get the assessment. That's a good way to start, but getting the assessment and reading it and then going, now what, is not a great vibe. And there are options Michael has to kind of help you through it, and even additional offerings, whether it's courses or personal time with him, that allow you to lean into this learning. And I can tell you firsthand, if you can change engagement, even in the slightest way in your organization, the results can be absolutely staggering. Michael, keep going. I'm going to just keep
sure
when I want to.
All right. So we walked through these. Lead with positive intent. Talents can be identified. That gives you this vocabulary, gives you a way to talk about this stuff. Success comes from growing talents into strengths, and organizational growth comes from engagement, and it's not hard or expensive to do. So let me just have a couple of more minutes. There are potholes in this process. The Gallup reports and the materials they give you are excellent. There's no question about it. In fact, they've just revamped their website, and it's got a whole bunch of great new additions. But you're on your own and you're busy. I know this. I've been you. I am you. And sometimes you get this report and then you read it and you say, wow. And then you put it away and you go on to the next big challenge, the next problem, the next whatever. And it's the kind of stuff that requires time and energy. It doesn't necessarily, it's not magic, right? You've got to work at it. I'd love to give you a silver bullet or a golden key that would just open everything up perfectly, but you got to work at it. So how do you push past that obstacle? Well, I've got this idea that I call bridge the problem, okay? And one option is the Gallup plans that they've got, but I've put together a thing where I give you a code and to take the assessment, and then I spend 30 minutes on a one-on-one just talking to you before you take the assessment, and give you some more background and let you get into the answer some of your questions and help you see what it's all about. And for that, it's $99. You get the full 34, which is normally $50 anyway, so it's only $49 more. Then if you've got a little more time and you're a little more interested, I've put together 20 self-paced videos. So there are 5 videos that you watch before you take the assessment to give you some of the background and some ideas on how to take the assessment. it kind of helps you to take a more honest assessment, really. And I still do the coaching ahead of time. And that's $2.99. So you get these 20 self-paced videos. There's 15 afterwards. Gallup's got a whole process they've worked out. They call Name It, Claim It, and Aim It. And there's 5 videos on each of those. And they're like 8 to 12-minute videos. And you can do them whenever you want. But mostly what I'm trying to do is get you to take the time to go through this stuff at a cadence, at a rhythm, at a pace, so that you are going to be coming back to it and revisiting this stuff and thinking about it and repeating your strengths to yourself. And I want to get it built into your life a lot more than just looking at the report and walking away. That looking at the report and walking away won't make a big enough difference in the world. And then if you've got more time and are more interested, I have the same thing that we've got in the self-paced, but I add in 2 one-hour sessions. So after you get the assessment back, we spend an hour talking about your top 5. I give you insights that I've learned from my coaching and from talking to others about each of your top 5, and we kind of have a conversation around it. Then you watch the videos and you start to kind of blend that into your life. And then I spend an hour when we're all done and we say, well, now where do we go from here? What did you learn? What's meaningful? And where do we go from here? Do we want to talk about how you could use this, with others? How do you use it in your business? How do you use it just to go deeper and understand yourself a little better? And I've got that package for $8.99.
All right, so let me jump in here, Michael. Melissa, first of all, for those of you, Melissa, be on alert. I'm about to call for questions. For anybody who's got questions, get them into the Zoom chat window or the Facebook chat window or whatever. We'll try to find them. We're going to try to dig into them. But let me give you my view of the bridge the problem. So I love these options because I love a menu that you can select from, right? You want combo number 1, you want combo number 2. I want the egg rolls. Where are those at? So we have to kind of figure out what's right. If you are just kind of getting into this and you don't know nothing, as I like to say, I don't know nothing about nothing, then, at least start with the basic package and get it from Michael and get a little pre-coaching session. 30 minutes at any amount of money is a bargain. This is a gift to you guys. I should also give a full disclosure. I don't make any money on this. I have no referral fee. I have no affiliate commission. This is me supporting this idea because I think it's important for you, the entrepreneurs. So just in case you think I'm somehow wetting my beak here, that's not happening. I truly believe in this, and Michael, frankly, is not charging enough money, which we'll talk about after this call. But at least you should do the basic. Now, if you say, hey, I'm an overachiever, I like to dig into it, then you do the self-pace and get yourself going. If you're like, man, I have a team, if you have 5 or more people, you should start with Coaching Plus, because what you do now in terms of planning, and I'm talking about November, December, is what sets your 2020 plans in motion. And if you really want to create engagement, this is the key difference. Can you take that 15% normal engagement and drive it higher? Now, I will admit that in a lot of startup companies, we can have a little higher levels of engagement. But over time, the more you grow and the more you kind of ignore the problem, which is what most of our management styles are, we ignore problems until they really show up. That's when you need this the most. And if you create a culture of engagement from the beginning, you're sure to have better growth, more comprehensive problems and solutions being matched together instead of just, hey, boss, I got a problem. Let me know when you figure it out. And then your people check out. So there's a lot of things that go into this. But if you manage 5 or more people, start with Coaching Plus. If you're ready to get busy and get into it, do the self-paced one. Frankly, I would definitely tell anybody who thinks you're going to do, $500,000 or more to start with the Coaching Plus. And again, I got nothing in this thing. I got no dog in this hunt. And because Mr. Connectedness over here, Michael, won't tell you should buy this and do it immediately before he gets booked up, I'll be the one to tell you that. So, Michael, what do you have to add to that?
This may upset you some more. So the idea then is that the full value of this comes from making it a part of your life. All right, that's the key. Now, I'm going to give away some more stuff.
All right. And we said we're going to show the Q12 because I promised we would. Those are 12 questions you can ask your team. And you want to see those. That's a free bonus that's happening. I don't know if that's listed or not, but carry on.
It's not, but I'll bring it up in a second.
Yeah.
So if you get if you get either of the two big ones, the self-paced or the Coaching Plus, I've put together from my coaching materials, I've built my own one-pager version of each of the 34 strengths. And it's just sort of a curated collection of the materials that you could just have and be handy. It's easy if you say to yourself, oh, geez, I'm going to be, meeting so-and-so, and you just you've got an important conversation with them. It's good to be able to say, oh, that's right, they've got Achiever. Let me just kind of look at this thing. I want to kind of remind myself, what's Achiever all about? Because I don't have it, and they do, and I want to know how to work with them. And then with those done, I went ahead and just because some people would rather watch the movie than read the book, I made videos based on all of those one-pagers. So I've got 34 videos. They're about 4 minutes long each. And there's the kind of thing that you could, share with your team or whatever, and get some use out of. So if you buy either of the two upper levels, I include links to these materials for you as well.
All right. Well, why don't we just give away the whole? Good Lord. So first of all, I love value, right? Michael and I have a general phrase that we say we want to deliver overwhelming value, and that certainly delivers on it. Thank you, Mike, as always. I really do want to say that just taking the assessment and then not taking action is a missed opportunity. Yes, you can learn a little bit about yourself. You can even read the thing. You might even start to think about that vocabulary where you weren't considering it before, but it's truly a missed opportunity not to figure out how to put it in action. And I would just set an appointment in your calendar. Maybe it's every 2 weeks to look at your strengths-based report. Maybe it's even just 15, 20 minutes, and then figure out, what to do with your strengths next. Or maybe it's just figuring out the strengths of your colleagues. I can tell you one of the best things you can do for your team is share your strengths with your team so they can look up in the book how to manage your manager. If Steve has ideation, which I do, they can tell you from time to time, they'll say, hey, Steve, that ideation strength that you have, why don't you turn that thing off for a minute so we can actually get some work done, right? We might have some achievers or rangers on the team who actually want to do something, which for me, an ideation and learner guy, that sounds outrageous. I have no interest in doing anything ever. So by having these vocabulary issues, by understanding how these things are, and those one page, both the video or the print versions are extraordinarily helpful for you to really understand that claim it part of it. First you named it, then you claim it, and now you got to aim it. And getting that done in the system is really good. Michael, are you also going to just share your social security number so they can?
But I'm going to do a stop share, and it'll just take me 15 seconds to dig out the Q12 survey. So let me do that, and I'll bring it up.
Okay, let me tell you why I think this is important. So first of all, I talked about this in Texas with a group of brilliant entrepreneurs, and we can all be skeptics. This is not horoscope stuff, by the way. I want to be very, very clear. This is not horoscope nonsense. This is real science. Gallup is a scientific data collection, big data analysis, and that's what this is all based on. But a logical question is, yes, I want engagement. That makes sense to me. I get the Facebook numbers. I understand the retention. I understand all these benefits. But what do I do about it? It's the tyranny of how. Now what? And these 12 questions start with, measuring engagement. Before you know what to do about it, before you can start driving different behaviors in yourself and therefore in your organization, you need to kind of understand, what is my engagement level today? What's your baseline? And this is the questions. I'll let Michael, why don't you scan the 2 or 3 you think are the most important. We're not going to hit all of these here on this call because we're running long.
Yeah, so one of them is I know what's expected of me at work, right? That after they've come on board and they've been around a little bit, it's really important to know, do they really know what part of the rope they're supposed to be pulling on and what's expected? And what does success look like, right? Because there are people that'll think they're doing a great job and you're really expecting a lot more than that. So if you ask them, do you know what's expected of you? And then they rank it, and you measure that for the group over time, and you should see that number come up to near perfection, right? People should know what's expected of them.
Yeah, Michael, let me just jump in. So for all those getting the screenshots in, I'd like to put a funny face on. Hey, right? So kudos to you. Imagine yourself asking these questions to the people that work for you right now. And then don't get the rope imagery too much in your head, because you'll be on there on Amazon shopping for a noose, because it's a nightmare. You're not going to get the responses you want. I know what is expected of me to work. You should get that one to perfection. Number two, you should have materials and equipment to do your job right. That seems reasonable, but do they really? And have you asked them? Probably not. At work, I have the opportunity to do what I do best every day. I think that's one of the money winners right there. Michael, what do you think about number three?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. If not, you got to have a conversation, because maybe they want to be doing something else for you, or maybe they want to be someplace else, and you can help make a peaceful, productive departure for them.
Yeah. The other thing is recognition is one of the best currencies on the planet. And entrepreneurs, myself most notably included, it seems weird, right? It's like, if I would just tell them they suck if they're doing a bad job, why do I have to run around and say what a good job they're doing, right? It kind of, I'm not wired to know to do that. Yet if I happen to go, hey, Bob, I saw you did that thing and it was really great. Or, hey, Junior, I saw you, shipped 200 orders yesterday, nice work. That could make their entire month, right? They'll go home and they'll talk about it. So in the last 7 days, I've received recognition or praise for doing good work. This is something that we have to work at to do as entrepreneurs, and it's critically important. Michael, why don't you take 5?
So somebody that cares about you as a person. Again, there's a whole school of thought out there that says, the people are just tools and they're replaceable, and we'll get a new one if this one breaks. Well, you can't break them. They're people. So having somebody that cares about you as a person, and for them to be saying that is really good. And as you'll be probably saddened a bit when you get the first scores in. But 2, 3, 4 quarters later, you should see, again, really good numbers here.
Yeah. And then, is there someone at work who encourages my development, right? People really, they don't leave jobs, they leave managers. And that is a really, really important part of this equation. If people are not encouraging your development, you're going to find a new place, right? Just as we may mistreat people and treat them like tissue papers, I like to say, why in the world would somebody be loyal, or why would they want to continue their development at a company that doesn't care about them? So, Michael, what do you think about number 7?
So this is really interesting. Because you start thinking about the rank of people. If you've got a bigger organization, are you talking to the people that just came on board that are in the lower levels of the company? Maybe they've got ideation, right? And you could be having a conversation that says, hey, we got this situation, and I know that you've got ideas. What do you think? Right? And really listen to their ideas, because maybe you don't have ideation and maybe you need some ideas. So this helps to build an engaged company where they say, my opinion matters.
I don't actually care for your opinion there, Michael. Let's move on.
I appreciate yours, Steve.
Yeah, because he's Mr. Positivity. He's never been mad about that. Yeah. By the way, I'm happy to share my strengths with people. If you follow us, Michael's already shared his strengths technically as we've gone through, and I've shared a few of mine as well. But listen, we're going to jump through these last few. I'm just going to hit them really quick because we're running out of time. But mission or purpose of my company makes me feel my job is important. So do they know what the mission or vision purpose of your company is and how they fit into that? And by the way, that doesn't mean they have to be the one who's, launching the rocket. They can be part of customer service or part of warehouse, but they know how their role fits into it and why it's important. That makes a big difference. Number 9, do they feel that their associates or fellow employees are committed to doing the work? This is one thing that I think leads to unengagement like crazy. When they see people who are actively disengaged, the saboteurs in the organization, and then they see Mr. Manager not taking action and basically being dumb, eventually I wake up and go, hey, maybe I should rectify this situation, either coach them up or move them out. And then everybody will show up and go, oh, hey, Steve, finally you woke up and you're not asleep at the wheel. You took care of this problem. That increases their engagement. Number 10 is a little harder for remote staff, but still possible. And the question is, do they have a best friend at work? Who do they confide in? Who do they say, I was given this assignment, I kind of get it, but I have some questions, and I don't want to ask my manager because he or she will think maybe I don't know what I'm doing. They need that best friend at work. And the more you have team meetings and develop a team culture, Slack channels, etc., the more you can cultivate that. And then this is really important and far more important than the stupid annual reviews, which I wouldn't even do. In the last 6 months, somebody at work has talked to me about my progress. They want to do a good job. Everybody wants to do a good job. And the question is, are they making progress on it? How can they get better, stronger, etc.? That can be, again, a type of currency for engagement and retention. And finally, this last year, I've had opportunities to learn and grow. That is a critical thing. If they feel stuck, the proverbial quagmire, that is not going to enhance or otherwise cultivate engagement. So, Michael, any other words about the Q12 before we tie off the loose ends here?
No, except that you can measure this stuff, right? Again, it's from Gallup. All they do is survey people all the time. And so you can, here's the 12 questions. You can put them into a Survey Monkey, ask everybody to answer them, and then go to work on these ideas. When you get the results back, you'll have some, like I said, some sad or some disappointing areas. Go to work on those. Put in some programs. It doesn't take a lot of time or effort. And use what you know about strengths to help build those things up. And you should see good progress all the way along. There are success stories out there. One is a city near San Jose that did this and turned the city around. They were running deficits. They were able to lower headcount and increase satisfaction and increase productivity by getting rid of some bad people and getting everybody else engaged. And it turned the city around. So this stuff works all kinds of companies, all kinds of organizations, and it's research, it's statistical, it's measurable.
Yeah, that's a really good point. There are countless case studies, gang. We wanted to give you kind of the baseline understanding today, introduce you to the concept. I do want to say, again, proactively, go to that GoBeStrong/go and pick one of those packages and take action today. This is an investment in yourself. This is your early Christmas present to yourself to, get into the game of big picture leadership and engagement. I can tell you, again, as a horrible manager myself, without tools, without resources, it's not a fair fight, right? I'm just not going to succeed unless I have support and resources from people who are experts. And I love the science behind the Gallup and the strengths-based philosophy. Melissa, do we have any questions we need to jump in to right now?
We do. So we've got one here that says, as you guys have engaged in a number of ventures, what has helped you identify and choose your projects and direction, and how has strengths-based development aided you, since you've begun implementing it? It's a dual question there.
Yeah, they're getting a twofer going on there. Part of this is a maturity that comes over time and looking at what you're good at. But there was an example of years ago of a company that didn't realize what the horse and buggy companies didn't realize they were in the transportation business, and so they thought they were in the horse and buggy business, and they got wiped out by cars. My point is, when you look at an opportunity, you have to say to yourself, is this going to fit my strengths? Is this what I'm good at? And so with, again, I've got strategic and futuristic. So I'm all about looking about what's new. I'm not so much about fixing stuff that's broken. And so if the job was, if the job didn't give me a chance to come up with new solutions and build new pathways and take a team there, it's just not going to fit what I'm doing. And I didn't talk much about belief, but I've got belief in my top 5. I have a strong sense of right and wrong. Steve can, tell me that I'm not pricing the stuff right, but I want to price it where I want to price it. And that's what I'm going to do. And I just believe in certain things. So if I get put into something that's shady or slimy or slippery, I can't do it. So I hope maybe as part of the structure of this whole offering to you guys comes across as kind of clear and transparent and simple and easy, because I don't want it to be slimy. That to me would be wrong, and I cannot do that. And I can't work for companies that ask me to do that.
So this presentation is now 80% less slimy. It would be 100%, but I'm still here. So the point is, I think John asked this question, John Keeling, very smart guy, by the way. I think it's a practical application for your knowledge, John. Like I'm always got the ideation, I've always got the learner, but I know that I shouldn't go into a project unless I have the talent on my team to actually do stuff. Michael talked early on about there's 4 different sectors of strengths. And if you don't have somebody who's in execution and relationship and the strategic thinking, and I don't remember what the other one is off the top of my head, but you really want to have a well-rounded team and not just be worried about being a well-rounded individual. And so part of the question as you analyze opportunities is, who else on the team is going to be able to help where I'm not the strongest? For example, again, I'm a fast starter, but I better have a finisher on that team. Otherwise, I'll just have another idea that goes nowhere, right? And that's not a very good vibe. So think of it in a very practical setting of, here's me, here's what I'm good at, here's what I like to do. If there's nobody around me who helps me and supports me by offsetting, and enhancing some of those things that I don't do well, I just have no shot at making a go of it. So any other questions, Melissa, we should take note of?
This one you did answer in the chat, but I wanted to see if we could get Michael's take. Vernon Grant asked, what is the difference between the Clifton Strengths and the Myers-Briggs, Fascinate, Sally Hogshead, and 16personalities.com?
Holy cow. Well, thanks for the question, Vernon. I can really only speak to Myers-Briggs and to Clifton Strengths. I'm not familiar with the other two. Myers-Briggs was an assessment that I took a while back. I'm not trained in it. I came back with an INTJ, which is, I think, less than 1% of the population. My takeaway was that I was weird. But those are they're very different assessments. They're not wrong. They're measuring different things and they're getting different sort of takes on something. Clifton Strengths doesn't spend any time sort of downplaying the other techniques that are out there. They have their own purpose and they're different tools. You should use different tools for different things. My love of Clifton Strengths is this focus on the positive, on strength, and on moving forward. And that's why I like it.
Yeah, and I think just to recap my general response is that it's like once you take the test, then what? What do you do with it? And Strengths actually has a plan, and particularly now you guys have the GoBeStrong.com resource, and Michael himself, that he's willing to take these calls and help you guys out. This is a guy who's run, businesses and built teams around tens of millions, over $100 million of revenue. And he's willing to talk to you and take your call and help you learn your own strengths and the strengths of the team. That's something that you don't get every day. So I don't know how those others work, but I do want to tell you in full disclosure that like the Colby, I will use Colby to take an assessment of Colby and then somebody who works for me, like an assistant, and do an analysis, because the Colby will do kind of a skills-based assessment versus, the strengths. And it'll tell me, for example, this works in strengths too, but it'll say to this particular person, don't say these words that I will definitely want to say, by the way. Like, why don't we just skip to the end of this conversation and get to the point? Like, if I say that to certain people on my team, I destroy their psychology. I destroy their mind. So I have to be very careful about how I interact, so that everything has value. But I can tell you, to me, strength builds a culture, and it builds a way of doing things that promote engagement. And it's unequivocal science. If you get engagement, you will develop retention. You'll have higher productivity. You'll have better customer service. So many things that are in many ways intangible, or you don't even think about. Like right now, I think very few of you are like, hey, how can I get my retention numbers increase? How can I get my productivity numbers increase? Because you're like, I just need my sales and profit today, right? But I want you guys to think about the big picture. What's coming next? As you succeed, you will need talented, engaged people who can carry the ball to the next level. And one of the number one questions I get is, hey, I got myself to 0 to 1 million or 0 to 3 million or even above, but how do I take it to the next run? That 1 to 10 million journey, or 10 to 50 or beyond 50. And I tell you, it starts with people and it starts with culture. There's no other way to get there. Any final words, Michael? We should tie this thing off, I guess.
No, I would love to work with all of you, and if not, at least give it some thought. Know your strengths. Take the assessment, learn your strengths. I don't think you can go wrong.
Yeah, I definitely. I'm telling you guys, this should be the lightest weight, hard sell webinar you've ever been to. Right? We've delivered actual value. We've shown you real things to do. I'm again not a paid endorser. I'm just an advocate of strengths, and I trust Michael. And therefore, you go to gobestrong.com/go and take action and get the job done. Melissa, anything from you? Final words?
Yeah, actually, I would just wanted to say, I think it's really important for people, their first thought is like, well, I don't know, if I want to do this for my whole team, but doing this for yourself is really, really important, because for me, when I kind of started doing my own business and stuff like that, and I had to negotiate with people as someone who has restorative and positivity, it felt very against what was natural to me. And I kind of had to think, maybe I can't do this. But what I ended up discovering was, if I just approach it in the way that is my strength, I can still do the same task. And that means, who am I doing this for? Who am I negotiating on behalf of? And then I can do that for them rather than negotiating against someone, which is more in my wheelhouse.
Yeah, that's good. Listen, I think very practical use case. And I see Tanya pointed out that Colby's been very useful for building her team. Colby's really good at skills assessment and helping you understand the different skills your team has. And I certainly have no objection to using Colby, especially as you do the Colby side-by-sides with the manager and the associate. That's a really important thing. But it definitely can be augmented in understanding strengths. How people approach the problem, how people build the skill is really, really important. And that's where strengths is. So kudos to you, Tanya, for doing both. That's really, really good. And although there's been a lot of information shared here, I do want to tell you that, this won't be the last time we talk about it. And for those in the Empowery co-op, we'll, probably have these sessions every so often, just so you can stay focused on strength. So thanks, Michael, for the time. Melissa, thanks for running the controls and the boards. And we're going to get out of here right now, everybody. Thanks again for sticking it through.
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.
See you, everybody. Bye-bye now.
Bye.